There are moments in life that whisper once, and then disappear, not because they lacked importance, but because we weren't ready to hear them. Some truths don't arrive, they awaken. That's why you must watch this twice. Not for repetition, but for revelation. For the second glance is not with the same eyes. The second glance sees you. The first time you watch something meaningful, you are watching it with the eyes the world gave you. You are filtering it through your learned experiences, your daily distractions, your defenses, your need to judge and make sense of things. Your mind, hungry to categorize, races ahead to define what it sees. You are listening, yes, but you are listening with ears shaped by noise. You are watching, but with vision blurred by survival. This is not a flaw. It is simply the nature of the first encounter. You are on the surface because that is what the world trains you to value. The immediate, the obvious, the quickly digestible. But depth does not yield itself in haste. What is sacred rarely speaks in the first moment. It waits patiently for your second gaze, because only then do you begin to see with different eyes. The second watch is not a repetition, it is an awakening. You are no longer watching the content, you are watching yourself within it. The words strike differently, the pauses carry weight, the emotions that once brushed past you now pull you inward. It's not that the message has changed, it's that your capacity to receive it has deepened. Something inside you, perhaps previously unconscious, begins to stir. You recognize a reflection you hadn't noticed before. A subtle ache, a long, forgotten longing, a truth that had no voice until now. The second watch invites you not to consume the message, but to be consumed by it. And suddenly the surface dissolves. What you thought you understood now reveals its deeper layer. The message becomes a mirror, and in it you don't just see an idea, you see yourself. Not the self you perform for the world, but the one who waits in silence for you to return. Repetition is not a mistake of the mind, it is its language. The unconscious does not speak in straight lines or loud proclamations. It moves in circles, returns through symbols, revisits what has been left undone. When something calls you back, when you feel compelled to watch again, it is not because you forgot, but because you haven't yet remembered fully. Something deeper is trying to make itself known, not through newness, but through return. We live in a world that glorifies constant novelty, where once is enough and moving on is a virtue. But the soul does not operate on speed. It unfolds slowly in spirals and echoes. It repeats not to bore you, but to invite you, to initiate you, because what you truly need to understand will never shout at you once and leave. It will whisper again and again, each time from a deeper place. And you won't even notice until the pattern becomes too personal to ignore. Repetition is a sacred rhythm. The things you are drawn to over and over again, those stories, those images, those haunting phrases, are not random. They are the rituals of your own awakening. They are signals from the depths, knocking softly, hoping you will stay still long enough to finally hear. The second, third, or fourth time isn't indulgence, it's integration. It's the mind softening its grip so the psyche can speak. When you revisit something meaningful, it's like returning to a dream you had as a child. The meaning was always there, but your eyes were not yet ready. Now, with each return you descend. Each time you watch again, you're not going back, you're going in. This is not mere consumption. This is communion. This is how wisdom enters the body. Not in one grand flash, but in waves, in echoes, in slow, sacred loops. Repetition gives the unconscious space to rise. It is not the content that deepens. It is you who descends. What returns again and again is what your soul cannot forget. So the moment you feel the urge to repeat, do not resist it. Follow it, because you are not watching again out of boredom. You are obeying a call, one that is older than your thoughts and more truthful than your fears. A true symbol is alive. It does not deliver a fixed message or end with one interpretation. It opens a doorway that widens every time you pass through it. The symbol is never finished because you are never finished. It grows as you grow, reveals more as you are able to receive more. What struck you as poetic the first time may pierce you like a revelation the next. That is not because the symbol has changed. It is because your soul has stepped closer to it. We are conditioned to seek quick meanings, to ask, "What does this mean?" and move on. But the real power of a symbol is not in what it means, it's in what it does to you. It lingers, it activates something deeper. It bypasses the intellect and settles in the body, in the emotions, in that quiet place inside you that does not use words but feels truth. A symbol awakens a resonance, not a conclusion. It does not offer answers. It invites relationship, and like all real relationships, it evolves. The image, the gesture, the sentence that stayed with you after the first viewing. Notice how it returns in your thoughts, how it stirs at strange hours, how it won't leave you alone. That's a sign you haven't exhausted it. That's how the soul says, come back, because each time you engage with the symbol again, something new surfaces. You see a nuance, a layer, a shadow that was invisible before, not because it wasn't there, but because now you are able to see it. This symbol waits for the readiness of your awareness. A powerful symbol is a vessel. It can carry multiple truths at once, some contradictory, some paradoxical, some that speak to the child in you, others that confront the one you're becoming. That's why it resists being solved. The moment you think you've grasped its full meaning, it slips away like mist, because its essence is not in definition, it's in transformation. So when a certain phrase or image haunts you, do not try to dissect it. Live with it, let it breathe, watch it again, listen again. It is not finished speaking, and you are not finished hearing. The second watch may not give you the satisfaction of certainty, but it will give you something far more sacred, depth. And with depth comes initiation, a movement beyond what is literal into what is alive. That is the gift of the symbol. It grows with you. It bends to meet the shape of your soul at every stage of your becoming. And each time you return to it, you are not revisiting the same moment. You are stepping further into the mystery. The most powerful truths are not the ones that inspire you. They are the ones that unsettle you. They are the ones you instinctively flinch from, the ones that make you feel exposed, even if you can't explain why. When a message pulls you back to it, when you feel that subtle urge to watch it again, it may not be because it made you feel good. It may be because it mirrored something you weren't ready to face, and that's precisely why you must return. The mirror is never neutral. It doesn't just reflect what is beautiful or acceptable. It reflects everything, even what you've hidden from yourself. Especially what you've hidden. When you come face to face with a message that stirs discomfort, that awakens tension, it is often not the message that is confronting you. It is you confronting yourself through the message. And that's why watching again is not entertainment. It's an act of courage. We all carry a shadow, the parts of us we exile, deny, or deem unworthy. These are the feelings, memories, truths, and desires that live just beneath the surface of consciousness. We pretend they aren't there, we distract ourselves, we rationalize, but the psyche is not fooled, it knows, and so it brings forth reflections. In dreams, in art, in encounters, in moments like this, designed not to accuse you, but to reunite you with what you've lost or abandoned within yourself. When something you see begins to haunt you, begins to echo in your thoughts without permission, that is not disturbance. It is a signal. It is the mirror asking, will you finally look? And looking is not about judgment, it's about integration. You do not watch again to feel ashamed of what you are. You watch again to remember what you are, including the parts you thought you had to reject. The mirror shows you not only your light, but the parts of your soul covered in dust. The longings you suppressed, the grief you postponed, the truths you silenced because they didn't fit the image you were told to become. But when you return to the mirror consciously, when you watch not just to absorb content but to witness yourself, you reclaim something sacred. You retrieve pieces of yourself that were buried under years of pretending. This is why the second watch can be heavier, not because the content has changed, but because now you are ready to see what you once avoided. And this time, the mirror doesn't reflect the person you show to the world. It reflects the person you meet when the world goes quiet. That version of you, the raw, unpolished, deeply human self, is not your weakness. It is your wholeness waiting to be accepted. To look again is to risk transformation, because the mirror will not flatter you, but it will free you. If you are brave enough to face what you refused to see the first time, then the second time becomes a threshold. Not just a repeat, but a revelation, one that shows you not who you pretend to be, but who you truly are. The first encounter is never the full encounter. It is often clouded by the defenses you carry, defenses you don't even realize are present. You are watching, yes, but through a lens colored by habit, expectation, distraction, and the subtle armor you've built to survive in a world that rarely invites stillness. The first time, you are absorbing information. You are looking for meaning, maybe even searching for what resonates or inspires. But inspiration alone is not transformation. And the surface understanding you gain at first glance is rarely the message's true gift. The second time is different. The second time, you are no longer a passive receiver. You come with context, with memory, with a softened edge. The message has already touched something in you, perhaps without your full awareness, and now you are returning with more than attention. You are returning with openness, with curiosity, with the willingness to see what you missed. The second time is when you no longer watch with your mind alone, but with your soul. It is a deeper kind of seeing, the kind that doesn't just interpret the words or images, but lets them penetrate. This is when the real encounter begins, because the truth is, you don't see the message. You see yourself reflected through the message, and the second time, you are closer to that reflection. You are slower, more silent, something within you has shifted. It could be subtle, a flicker of recognition, a breath held just a second longer, but it is real. You are not encountering the content again. You are encountering your response to it more truthfully. You're beginning to realize that the message did not change, but your awareness did. You are no longer seeking to consume, you are seeking to connect. This is why sacred teachings, profound images, haunting songs, or soul-stirring speeches never exhaust themselves. They wait for you to be ready. They wait for the second watch when your heart is less guarded and your mind less quick to define. You begin to notice things that escaped you before, the inflection of a word, the pause that holds more weight than the sentence, the silence between the lines. These things were always there, but only now do they touch you, and this touch is what the soul recognizes, not the words, but the energy behind them. Not the content, but the call. The second encounter is not just about depth. It is about permission. Permission to feel what you avoided. Permission to question what you assumed. Permission to admit that something within you is stirring, and perhaps unraveling. That's the quiet miracle of watching again. It's not repetition, it's revelation, and each revelation carries a choice, to turn away again, or to stay with it long enough to be changed. The second time offers you that chance. The chance to step beyond understanding and into experience, to stop grasping at meaning and instead let the message grasp you. Let it reshape something in your inner architecture. So don't move on so quickly. Not from this, not from yourself. Watch this twice, not with your eyes but with your soul, because the truth does not shout, it waits, and when you are ready, it whispers again.